The iPhone 12 is probably the most interesting out of all the 12 models for me. Simply because like if you're just going for that 799 64 gig model, then you're going to get a bunch of upgrades coming from an 11. You're not going to be disappointed. But if you go to upgrade the storage, then it really begs the question as to whether, you should consider upgrading because you're only $150 away from getting a 128 gig 12 Pro, which has that third camera. It has a brighter OLED panel. You're going to get nighttime portraits from the front camera. The rear camera is going to be able to shoot in 60 frames per second for Dolby Vision. So there's a bunch of other things too, but really think about it, because if you are someone that wants to keep this phone for a couple of years, then that might be something to consider. But regardless, you know what? I want to start with comparing this with the iPhone 11 that it's replacing. So first I want to start with the display of both of these phones. So you have the 11 and the 12. Now on the 12, you've got an OLED panel. So this is going to be a big upgrade for you. If you're coming from the 11, you have that LCD panel. And the difference between an LCD and an OLED panel is that on an LCD screen, the pixels are backlit. So they're all being lit up at the same time. On an OLED panel, you actually have each pixel emitting its own light. So therefore, everything from your images to your videos to text, everything is just going to look more true to life. When I did the unboxing of the 12, I showed a picture of my dog Buddy that I actually took on the 11, and I displayed it on the 12, and you could see in that picture that his fur, the wood floor, everything in that picture on the 12 display was just looking so much better. So another thing that you're really going to enjoy coming from the 11 to the 12 is the fact that this is an HDR display. So when you are viewing content that's in HDR, if you guys have used Netflix, Disney Plus, there's lots of content online on those streaming services that has HDR, the ability to view it in HDR. So, if you're watching content like that, you're really going to notice a big difference. Now, another important thing to remember about the display is the fact that the 11 has a pixel resolution of 326 pixels per inch, whereas on the 12, you've got 460 pixels per inch. So in general, combined with the fact that it's an OLED, everything is going to look so much better. There is a very big difference between an LCD and an OLED, especially an OLED that also has a better pixel resolution. Last but not least about the display is the fact that when you are watching content from Netflix, Disney Plus, wherever, that is in HDR, you're going to be able to have a peak brightness of 1200 nits. So your screen can get really, really bright when watching HDR content, and those colors just look amazing. They really look beautiful, and it's something that you can see it in videos, comparisons one display to the next, but in person, when you actually see this in person, you really can notice the difference. Now that we've got the display out of the way, I want to talk about something I really, really love. This form factor, regardless of which 12 model I've played around with, I love this squared off design. It is just so comfortable in the hand to hold compared to all the curved models like the 11. So if you're coming from the iPhone 11 or maybe even an X, this phone in terms of size, in terms of weight, it's just going to feel so much better. And, compared to the Pro models, it's a lot lighter too, simply because you don't have that stainless steel. So the Pro model of the 12 really has more weight to it. So if you are somebody that does enjoy a lighter and more compact form factor, then you're going to enjoy this one. Now, coming from the iPhone 11, you're going to notice a bunch of changes, right? So your size, the form factor, the weight of the phone, the display. But one place where you're really not going to feel a difference is in terms of performance, simply because the A13 of the iPhone 11 is a very good performing chip, and the A14 in the iPhone 12 is no exception. So whether you love playing games or doing everyday tasks, it's not like coming from the 11, this is just going to blow you away, But the performance in terms of everything from everyday tasks to games, you're going to enjoy it, and everything is going to be smooth as you should expect. Next, I want to talk about the camera. Now, coming from an iPhone 11, you've got that same dual 12 megapixel camera system. But what's changed here in the 12 is the fact that you have an increased aperture on the wide lens. So therefore, whatever conditions you're in, the camera is allowing in more light. And where you're really going to notice this difference is when things tend to get a little darker. this camera is going to be allowing a little bit more light in, and therefore you'll be able to get better shots in darker conditions. But what really changes with the iPhone 12 is the fact that you can record in Dolby Vision 4K HDR. Now, if you want to understand Dolby Vision and HDR a little bit more, I'm going to link the iPhone 12 Pro video because I really broke it down in that as to what HDR is and what Dolby Vision is. But, don't be limited by the fact that this is only 30 frames per second. Don't think that you need that 60 frames per second. For example, every video that I shoot is in 30 frames per second. And every video that you would want to shoot, trust me, unless you're doing some kind of video editing or video work, you're not going to need the higher frames per second. Usually you shoot in higher frames per second when you want to slow things down. So if you're trying to do an action shot, you're going to want to do that in 60 frames per second, and then you can slow it down later in post-production. So when you're looking at the 12 and you're thinking that this only has Dolby Vision 4K HDR with 30 frames per second, don't think that you're losing out here, especially if the only footage that you're going to be taking is when you're out with friends, you're out with family, and maybe you're out traveling. So you're going to be more than good. So don't think that you need to upgrade just to get that additional ability to shoot Dolby Vision in 60 frames per second. Now moving on to the front camera. Again, it's the same one. So iPhone 11, iPhone 12, same camera. The main difference that you're going to notice here is that if you're somebody that likes to take nighttime portraits, so if you're going to be out with friends and stuff at nighttime and you take a lot of pictures in the dark, then you're going to get better portraits on the iPhone 12. But other than that, everything is the same here. Everything is literally identical. So if you were used to taking good photos with the front camera of the iPhone 11, there's going to be no difference here except for when things get dark. And also another thing to remember is the fact that you can also record in Dolby Vision 4K HDR with the front camera. So if that is something that you want to be able to do, then you don't have that capability in the 11, but you do here with the 12. Next, I want to talk about 5G, and this is a funny one simply because I've been out from the Mini to the Pro Max to the Pro. I've taken them all out and I have tried my best to catch an ultra wideband. I've had no luck whatsoever. So, in your area, it might be different. I live in a metropolitan area and I have had no luck whatsoever. So, your area will vary, but, just keep it in mind that you shouldn't be solely upgrading from your iPhone 11 or another iPhone simply because you want 5G. But on the bright side, it is built in. Your phone will be good to go. Maybe in 6 months, maybe a year, it'll be really, really fast and it'll be easily accessible. And at that time, you're going to be good to go. So if you're buying this phone considering that, you want to upgrade to this and keep this for a couple of years, then you'll be good in terms of 5G. All right, so last but not least, I want to talk about battery life. And I know this is a tricky one for me simply because your usage, my usage, we're two different people and we're going to use it in different ways. So when I test these phones, normally in situations where I'm driving, I would throw my phone on the wireless charger I have in the car, but I don't do that while I'm testing the phones. I try to push the battery as much as possible to see how far along I can get in the day. And with this 12, I've been able to only get it down to 20%. So if you were able to make it through the day with an iPhone 11, then this is going to be no exception for you. You're not going to have any issues with the battery life whatsoever. And about the Magsafe charger, I really love it. I've used it with the 12 mini, the 12 Pro, the 12, and it's all been great. I've really enjoyed it. What I really love about the charger more than the fact that it actually charges fast is the fact that it snaps into place. And, previously when I was using my phone, especially in landscape mode, and I had the little cable plugged in the side here, that was a big hassle for me. But with this one, it's just like you can kind of rotate the magnet to whichever orientation you want. So the cable can be out of your way when you're using the phone. So that's a big plus. And also when you first put it on the charger, it peaks, right? So it's giving you the most power in that first 30 minutes. Now, Apple claims that you can get up to a 50% charge in just 30 minutes using that 20-watt adapter. Now, with the 12, I've seen that I can get to about a 40-45% charge when putting it on the charger for just like 30 to 40 minutes. So if you like fast wireless chargers, then the Magsafe is a good option for you. And another nice thing is that you don't really have to worry about it, right? You go to your side desk, like I have it on my side table by my bedside, and I just throw it on there. It snaps into place. It's simple, it's easy, and it's a great charger. So with the time that I've spent with this iPhone 12, I've really loved this phone. I think it's a great phone. It's lighter than the Pro and Pro Max models, especially because it's got these aluminum edges with the matte finish. Then you've got the glass and glossy back. And to be very honest with you, I thought at first I wouldn't like this look, but it's really grown on me. I really like this look, especially when the phone is just sitting and you have those matte edges. I really like it in its own way. So if you're coming from an iPhone 11 or even another iPhone and you don't really care about that third camera, you don't care about the stainless steel finish or the matte back finish on the Pro and Pro Max models, then this phone on its own is a great upgrade. I really love the design. I love the fact that the battery can last the whole day. I love the fact that I can get great footage, whether that's photos, whether that's portrait photos or nighttime shots. This camera is awesome. I really love this phone, and I highly recommend that if you're going for the 64 gig model, this is great. On the flip side, if you are considering upgrading the storage in this phone, then I would say really consider spending that extra $150 and looking at the Pro model. Simply because, you get that third camera, you get the LiDAR sensor. Now, with the LiDAR sensor, I know there's only few apps that are actually taking advantage of this, but, with time, now that it's in the palm of so many people's hands, with time, you're going to see some amazing stuff happen with the LiDAR sensor. So, if you are on the fence and you are going to upgrade the storage, take a look at the 12 Pro model as well. But if not, just the 64 gigs, the 12, this is a great upgrade. I really love this phone. That's going to do it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope my insight can help guide you in the right direction. If you do have any questions, do comment down below. I try my best to answer them as quickly as possible. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you're not already, do consider subscribing to the channel for more videos. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you all in the next video.